In this lesson, we'll add a feature onto our rig that will give us the ability to manipulate what controls our chest control. As it stands, our chest is just floating in the air, our chest control that is, meaning even if we select our back control, of course it's not controlling the chest as it more than likely should. Now, what we can do to prevent this is simply take this control and parent it underneath our back control. But what if one wanted to instead set up a switch to be able to, let's say, have our back either control the chest or have the chest just stand alone and just be controlled basically by the world without having our back or center of gravity control influence it. Now, in order for that to happen, we're going to need something other than a regular parent. What we're actually going to be doing is setting up parent constraints, and that's going to involve constraining to not only our back control, but also what we have right here within our outliner, a world node. The world node is simply a group that has just been parented underneath the character scale and has been called world node. It's as simple as that. But what we're going to be able to do with it is really cool. Here's an example of where it could be used. Okay, let's say you have a cartoony character. He's walking past a store, and he walks past a store that he likes. So he may look at it, do one of those double looks, look at the object that he sees as he's doing some window shopping while his legs are still moving forward. Now that's the type of feature that we're going to want to add to this rig. Okay, and this concept that we're about to do does not only apply to the chest, but anywhere else that you like to on the character, given whatever type of character you have. So let's go ahead and work on setting that up. First off, since we know we're going to be setting up constraints, we know that we're not going to want to constrain directly to this control, so we still have our attributes here for the control cleaned up. But what we can do is set up a group instead, to group this object, and have the group being controlled by either the back control or the world, while still keeping a clean chest control. So let's go ahead and set that up. All we need to do is, with the chest control selected, hit Control G. Now that it's grouped, we'll give it a name. We'll call it GRP underscore CC underscore chest 01. Great, so we have our group set up, and what I also like to do, just a preference of mine, is to take the pivot of that object and vert snap it right to where the pivot of the control object is, so it's right where our chest bone is. And we'll hit insert again to come out of that. Alright, so now that that's done, we need to establish our connections. That's going to again be from our back control as well as our world node. Okay, so let's go ahead and set that up. What we can do is first select the back control, then we control click our world control, our world node that is, and we go ahead and now select the group of the chest. So that's going to be right here, group CC chest. With these all selected, we go up to constraint and now do a parent constraint. Okay, a parent constraint again with maintain offset. Now that this has been done, again, you just saw the connection too, so if you were ever doing other constraints, whatever selected last, that'll be influenced by whichever objects you've selected before. But now we have two objects controlling our chest. So if we were to try to move our back right now, it's not going to totally move our chest. As we can see, it's not totally following it because of the world node also being influenced, or also influencing our chest. As we can see, they both have a full weighting here. So what do we need to do now? Now we need to set up a switch to be able to switch between what controls the chest. So with our chest selected, let's go ahead and make another custom attribute. Okay, we'll make it displayable, and we'll call we'll call our category driver. Okay, and we'll hit add. Now we can go ahead and make something keyable, and we're going to want to use an enum. So let's go ahead and switch to that. And then as far as our name is concerned, we can call this follow. Okay, so we know what it's going to follow, and we'll scroll down in our list, and notice with enums we're able to switch to different letters. Okay, so this is really cool. For green, let's go ahead and select that. We'll call this back, since we selected back first to be influenced by the chest, and then we'll call the next one world. Now that that's done, we can just hit enter and hit OK. Okay, so now if we were to go to follow, go to back, go to world, we could switch between the two. So how are we going to set it up so that these will actually control what they need to, that parent constraint? Well, all we need to do is set up a set-driven key. Simple as that. We'll go to our set-driven key window. With it selected, we want to load up our chest as the driver and select follow. The driven, of course, is going to be that parent constraint. So we'll go to our chest group, open that up, and select the parent constraint and reload it, this time as the driven side. And we can scroll down and get to our different controls here. Okay, so we know that the back, we already have our control set to back. If we go ahead and select our chest, notice how it's set to back. So what we're going to need to do for our parent constraint is to turn off the weighting of our world node so that the back will completely control the chest. Once we turn that off, we select both of these to make sure that they're both be keyed. We need them both keyed, and we'll hit key. Great, so now a connection has been made. We go back to our chest, we switch follow to world, and we just switch these around. The 1 gets turned to a 0, 0 gets turned into a 1. And we hit key. Now, with all of these things done, we can close out our set-driven key. Watch what we're able to do. Right now, the chest is controlled by the world. So if we were to select our back, move that around, nothing's controlling it. So we can get that type of setup where the rest of the body is following, keeping the rest of the character is walking, while the upper body of the character is still right where it's at. Nothing's moving. But let's say he came to his senses and he's like, oh, what am I doing? I need to follow my legs. Now, if we were to move the back, notice it's going to move the chest just as it needs to, as well as with the center of gravity control, being that our back control is parented to our center of gravity. So that is how we set up that follow switch. And again, that can be used for a lot of other things. You can do that for your legs if you wanted to, your hands, and we'll actually be doing that with the hands when it comes to setting up the hat so that we can have him tip his hat if we like to. And you can even set it up if you had any other type of object within your rig where you'd need that type of feature. But again, that is how we set up the follow switch, and that also finishes this lesson. So what's our next task? Our next task is to move on to seeing what we can do about setting up our head. So we pretty much are moving quite along with this setup. We've got the head and then the arms and then a few more other things before we're complete. So let's go ahead and we can move on to the next and start working on setting up, again, that character's head.